started. Yeah, I started with herbs, which are not very well kept at the moment. And then much later, I started strawberry farming, which I grow in bags because, as you can see, it's tarmac. I just removed the strawberries recently. Now I'm planting spinach and kale. Grown. You can come and sit better. Yeah. So this is it. These are last season's spinach and kale. When I came to Mazingira, I was really encouraged because I saw other people who were doing the same thing as I was doing. So I decided I want to take this to another level and to grow with it.
Our vision is being an activist and a reflective participant in the local and global social process. It's as simple as that. And then you're often asked, what is your mission? With us, it's to integrate knowledge and practice.
We have a philosophy and an approach in Mazingira Institute, which is we don't just do research, we do research in order to change things and have an impact.
When I first started, I started with street children, teaching them how to grow food, their own food, because the problem was that the children were going from the slums to the city center to look to beg for food. And so what we did is we wanted to discourage that trend or that flow to the city because they were a nuisance. And what we did, I went out into the slums, a place called Kenyago, and that's when I started showing them how to grow food along the riverbed. And they started growing food, and in the process, the mothers came on board, and in the end, the whole community came on board, and we decided now to farm as a community. It took us a long time, about 3 years, but there were so many disappointments along the way. The city council would come and clear our farms. They would come and demolish the shacks that these people lived in. But at the end of the day, we were able to convince the city council that we are not destroying the environment. We are just cleaning up the place by composting and growing our own food. We just wanted to grow our own food. And at the same time, the river banks were over flooding and flooding into the village. So we grew bananas and planted trees. And that made the city council realize that we were not a danger, we were not a nuisance, we were just working towards food security within our households.
We were looking around us in the 1970s and we saw people growing food all over the city, on roadsides especially, and in every spare place. Once I even saw a single maize plant growing on a keep left sign in the middle of the road, and something growing next to a petrol pump in a petrol station. And we said, look, we have to find out what this is about. Who are the people growing? What for? What is this phenomenon? Who are these people? And so we managed to get a research grant from IDRC in Canada to research it, and we did a national random stratified sample of households in urban areas to find out how many of the people in towns across Kenya were farming. And it was quite surprising that 29% of the total urban population was growing crops, and another lot of people, which was slightly less, I think it was around 17%, were keeping livestock in cities. More people who lived in urban areas were keeping livestock and growing crops elsewhere because they had rural shambas. So we managed to collect a lot of data, and then we found out the answers to our questions. And it was quite revealing.
When you look at people, wherever they come from, food is what connects them. If you look at in our African communities, the festivals, they all revolve around food. If it's a wedding, it's food. If it's a funeral, it's food. A birthday, food. So everything revolves around the food, the pot, the cooking pot. So that's why we thought of starting with food. You grow your own. And then the other issue was that people were getting dirty food which was picked from the streets, which was contaminated using wastewater. So we thought now, if these people grew their own food, they would be more healthier and our children would be more healthier because we were caring for the children at that time.
It was an enormous help that there were parallel studies that had been funded by IDRC in Tanzania and Uganda, Dar es Salaam and Kampala, the capitals, and they came up with remarkably similar figures, or even higher in some cases. Like they found 35%, I think it was, of households in Kampala were growing food, and maybe as many as 50% in Dar es Salaam. So these were big numbers, and when IDRC published a book on it, which actually came out in 1994, where they published all of those studies together in a book called Cities Feeding People, that influenced not only the Earth Summit in 1992, which was held in Rio, but it also influenced IDRC policy, and the Canadian government committed itself to doing more on this subject and set up a department in IDRC called Cities Feeding People as a response. So gradually these things began to change. But it wasn't until the early 2000s that we in Mazingira started the Urban Farmers Forum. It's got an awkward acronym, which is NEFSALF, which is the Nairobi and Environs Food Security, Agriculture and Livestock Forum. And it's a forum for different stakeholders to come together from the public sector, the private sector and the community sector. And the community sector meaning the farmers.
If I go back to the beginning in 2002 when we started the Nairobi and Environs Food Security and Agriculture Livestock Forum, the language was even Kiswahili. The farmers could not even speak English, they could not understand English. And so communication was very hard. The extension people from the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Livestock, they had to teach in Kiswahili because the farmers were old, they were elderly. But as we moved on, the youth came on board. They were a bit hesitant and they came on board. And this is when we started seeing change. When the youth started coming on board, we started seeing change because the youth would pick up an idea, take it back home.
In our schools, our system is not so good. I find that the 844 system that we have, first of all, they pulled out agriculture. It's not one of the subjects that we have in our system. So there's also a negative attitude towards farming, especially in the sense that when any student probably has done something wrong and needs to be punished, the punishment is to go dig.
Agriculture has been disrespected. It's been seen in schools as a punishment. It's a low status occupation.
In school, for a punishment, you'd be told to go and dig, right? And then the teacher would probably in class, if you're not attentive or if you're just one of the naughty guys, they'd say like, you better take care or you'll end up being a farmer in the hot sun. You know, the world will not have any room for you if you continue like this. So what that made us believe is farming is no good.
And I think part of the transformation we're working for is to make it a higher status activity and for them to see it as something that will really create income, wealth and status for them. And that hasn't been the case in the culture of those developing countries. People have seen going away from farming as their only hope for a modern life. And when they see that they can get a modern and satisfying life through agriculture, that is a transformation. The farmers in particular said, we want training. And the government, the ministries of agriculture and livestock said, okay, we'll come here and train you. And can Mazingira provide a space where we can work with them to train you? They learned about how to grow crops more effectively, how to manage their money, how to keep livestock. Particularly an issue was livestock health. And we got stakeholders from the research community as well to share their research results about safe livestock keeping and transmission of diseases from livestock to humans. And they were able to influence, to help the ministry as well, and the farmers directly to get that knowledge. And the farmers felt empowered by that.
When he gave me the seed, I went and broadcasted just a small compound. When the seed went mature, I harvested the plant and I sold. I got more money. Then I decided to do farming because I think I got the farming can give me the opportunity to see tomorrow.
So the youth realized that you do not need to be employed. You can go, grow your own food, make money. And so this attitude that you have to have a white-collar job has changed now. And through the training, we were able to change the attitude to look at agriculture positively, not as a dirty job, but as a job or as an activity that you can enjoy, as an enterprise like any other. And you are not now a farmer, you are a food producer.
I've decided then to start keeping rabbits. I have 9. We got 7 kids. These are the kids. Maybe let me open the door for you so that it's easier to see. The good thing about rabbits, they don't take up a lot of space. Feeding them is much easier than feeding a cow or a goat.
You look at the history of cities, they are the origin of civilization, and the origin of the cities is around food, because that was what brought settlement to early humans. And they settled around places that were highly productive for agriculture, so they could feed themselves and have more comfortable settlements. So we have to really go back to those origins and look at them more coherently and forget what has happened in our rush to industrialize and see the city as only consumers.
Then came Mazingira. It motivated me. So in 6 months coming, I'm planning for a big place and a big garden for me.
If you do urban farming, you can be able to change your lives.
We are grateful to the Canadian community that sponsored Mazingira, the CEDA and everybody else, that we were able to touch lives. Because already now I think we have about 3,000 farmers out there whom we have trained. Out of the 300 or so urban farmers in Nairobi and peri-urban, I think we have touched about 3,000. Because every training we tell them, for every farmer we train, you go out and touch 10 others. That's how we do it. It's growing, and it will be a movement soon.
With the youth hub and even agriculture, urban agriculture, I think it gets them engaged to doing something. And you know, with agriculture, the best part I've said, I'll always say, it gives back. You see what you're doing. It's not like if you go to drinking and tomorrow you wake up and your problems are still waiting for you. Where you left is still there. Now I think with the youth hub, we are good to go. And it will take people to places. Even those who thought that their life was meaningless, they'll have a reason to live.
Transformation for the better is our purpose as an institute. We want to mobilize knowledge for positive change, for people, human well-being, and the well-being particularly of the poorest in the society, but also environmentally sound transformation. If they can grow food, they feel healthier, more comfortable, more secure, and happier.
In fact, we are hoping to get a bigger shamba whereby we can grow so many seedlings and we start planting all over.
We have an
all
experience
over.
now.
And even fruit trees.
All in all, I think this is a very good thing for the youth as a form of employment. Youth don't only have to do crop farming. There are other things you can do like value addition, which I think is what will take not only the youth and the community to another level, but also as a country, because then that means we can sell our surplus produce to our neighbors and increase income for ourselves. Yeah.
you.